Can I request Mr. Sunil Gupta, chairing our DC Council, to please moderate the session? Sir, over to you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Can I just request somebody to close the door? There's a lot of noise around.
Sir, before we start the session, can I request all for a group photograph?
Okay. Good afternoon. I think energy is palpable. हिंदी में बोलूँ तो माहौल बना हुआ है. For 2 years, just I was there in the previous panel and I was speaking that just 2 years back, we all were just figuring out what to do. You know, US has moved so far ahead, China has moved so far ahead, many countries who are much smaller than India have moved so far ahead. We are 1.4 billion people, 1 billion people carrying smartphones, consuming technology like day to day, the way we eat and drink, that's how we consume technology. But in AI, we are nowhere there. So in last 2 years, you have seen such a huge developments in India, of course supported by various factors, including intervention by government, across the entire value stack of AI, whether it is getting chips in India, whether it is building clouds in India, compute capacity, whether it is creating data sets, collating data sets into marketplaces, building models in India, building use case and applications in India. India has obviously been the leader in applied part of the technology all the way. So lots have happened in the last 2 years. And the real question which we are asking, and that is, by the way, is the also topic of this whole summit called Impact Summit. Bletchley was talking about safety, risk avoidance. Then, of course, Paris was also talking on the same topic, governance, regulation. But India said, let's talk about the applied part of this technology, right? How do we use this technology to benefit masses? Because the real test case, litmus test of any technology is, beyond all the jargons and all the complexities, is this technology going to benefit the masses? And we have the example like UPIs and the whole DPS stack to actually pave the way for us in adoption of AI also. B2B, we still see pilot stages. Lots of pilots going on, lots of POCs going on. But are we getting into production? And the real topic of this panel discussion is that business-led AI inclusion. From pilots to production to real impacts, whether it is in B2B space, whether it is in B2C space, or whether it is in G2C space. Across board, how do we lead a adoption of AI at a mass scale? So on this panel, you will see practitioners who actually are working on across the whole value layer of AI. There are people like I can see Mandar here representing hyperscalers. We have got a edtech and a gaming company representing here. We have got the one of the largest digital payment enabler in the world, Mastercard. We have got across board representation on this panel. So my question to start with quickly is from Dr. Chris. Dr. Chris, Mastercard is using AI for credit scoring, for fraud detection, and taking it on a very large global scale. So according to you, how can AI-driven financial, you can call it decision making, how it can expand credit access, especially when I'm talking about in a context of India where you are dealing with so many of people. How can AI-led revolution in the payment space take the benefits of that to masses, but at the same time make sure that there are no frauds, there are no launderings, and there are no after effects, the side effects as well? How do you ensure that?
Thank you. First of all, I think that the first word that comes to mind being at this conference is scale. It's overwhelming, the scale of interest here, and one of the things, there's a quote from our CEO who says, if it's not inclusive, it won't scale, and if it doesn't scale, it doesn't matter. And so that's the operating MO we have had for quite some time, as we've taken things from prototype to actual ROI. So I actually lead a team of data scientists globally. About half of them are actually based here in Gurgaon. So it's something we've been involved with at MasterCard for decades. It's not actually so new to us, and we find great talent here. So I want to say that that's the AI garage that Natendra leads. When we go to make an offering, the key things that really make that happen are security by design, consent as a feature, and interoperability. So what do I mean by each of those? Security by design is something that gets covered like by a combination of account aggregators and DPDP, where you have some oversight and ability to hold data, who can hold the data for how long and for what purpose, and is it redressable? All those things make that a key enabler for getting trust and sharing data. So that's security by design. The second thing is consent as a feature, and I say that as a data scientist, what we mean by a feature is something that actually can be used in a model to make it better, right? So when we get that consent, because we've set up the right security by design, then we can actually create a model with better data. That's how you go from thin file to actually something more actionable, right? Where, if you've opted in to share commerce signals that show some indication of business activity, that's a better proxy for whether you're able to have a loan than it is, based on the historical thin file challenges that we face here. And then the third thing is interoperability, and MasterCard is a standards-based company, where when we set up these standards, that makes everything interoperable. That means that the smallest players can be involved. It's not just a point-to-point with the bigger players. You actually get everyone on board. So the rails themselves carry the insights, carry the data, so that we can actually have these insights and create models that will actually make better predictions about creditworthiness. And then I could go on all day. Is that a good?
So no, thanks, Dr. Chris. Essentially, security by design and interoperability by design, scale will come automatically. Let me come to Mandar. Mandar, you are representing one of the largest hyperscale cloud operators, and your company is in India for ages, delivering tools like Windows and MS Office and everything which you use on a day-to-day basis. Our life runs on your company. So now when your company is scaling very big through your Azure AI initiatives, and you are scaling it to the remotest corners of the country, you are taking it to startups, you are taking it to SMEs. My question to you is regarding SMEs. When you take it to production cases in SMEs, how are you ensuring compliance and safety and security? Because if that is not there, nothing will succeed. How are you planning to do that? How are you doing that as a company?
Right. Thank you, Sunil, for the question and for inviting for the panel to such a. So I think Microsoft is rooted on three main principles. First, we started 2 years back something called a Secure Future Initiative. That is a ground-up engineering-led initiative where we are re-architecting the entire security fabric for AI. And Dr. Chris took one word out of that, secure by design. We do it secure by design, secure by default, and secure in operations. So we are looking at security to be embedded as a part of every life cycle of software development, service, and all that. So that's a massive initiative that we are doing. But along with that, that was more of a Microsoft initiative. So how we make our services more secure, how we make our software more secure. But along the lines, what we realize is that we need to provide that kind of guidance, that kind of tooling to our customers, especially in the age of AI. So what we started earlier was something called as a responsible AI. Way back, even before the generative AI revolution, our CEO Satya Nadella wrote a paper in 2014 in how do we develop AI responsibly. Since then, we have been working on making it more clear. So it's what started as a framework has got much more deeper now. So it has got tools, it has got standards, it has got dashboards, all of that. And all of that is open source. So if you go to responsible AI, search for that on GitHub, you can basically get the entire toolbox. For example, if you want to understand model safety, if you want to understand or implement some of the content safety, right? If you want to put some guardrails, all of that, or if you want to understand what's the outcome of your application from safety, security, all of that perspective, all of that is available as an open source. So responsible AI is a complete framework from how do you develop artificial intelligence, how do you adopt it, how do you govern it. That is something that we have done, right? That's the second thing that we have done. And third, and probably most important and relevant for SMEs, right, is what we do there, right? We believe AI will only grow, and you keep couple of keywords, adoption or scale. That diffusion will only happen when it's done for something which is very, very relevant to them. It will happen two ways, using some of our product and tools. When I say ours, not only Microsoft, but a lot of companies that are here on the panel. But a lot of that will happen when there are SME specific applications which are developed by our ISV partners. Because we are essentially a platform company, will offer that platform. But there are going to be hundreds and millions of SMEs in India who will have unique requirement that we may or may not be able to anticipate, we may or may not be fulfill or customize it for what they need. That's where our ISV ecosystem comes into picture. So what we are enabling is essentially a whole lot of AI application development by Indian startups fulfilling specific needs of Indian SMBs. In fact, the pavilion that we have here is showcasing all our ISV solutions. We're not showcasing Microsoft product as such, right? And Sunil, your team is also showcasing sovereign AI solution there. But essentially what we are saying is that those solutions, India's problem will need solutions from Indian startups, Indian ISVs. And our job is to enable that. That's the approach we are taking to really ensure diffusion and empowering that with security.
Thank you, Mandar. Scaled infrastructure, orchestration layers to make the life easy, and then ISV ecosystem to deploy it deep into the millions and millions of SMEs. Thank you, Mandar. If there is one company in India which is making waves and who sort of figured out how to apply AI on real world scenarios, and they were a big data science company before they obviously started applying the same principles on AI, is Fractal. They're in the market. So my question, Sandeep, to you is, and I'm sure this is something you're doing day in and day out, but in front of this audience, you have to ask a question. If you have to consult a SME CEO, and he asks a question, I'm, listening about this AI everywhere, but I'm a SME, I have got certain tools, right, which are automating my operations. If I have to pick up any one thing for have a quick win to have fastest returns, right, what should I do? So, Sandeep, question to you.
Thank you. I think great question. First, I'll tell the SME CEO that, you are in a much better position than the CEO of a very large enterprise because you have much less baggage, in terms of technology debt, tech debt, in terms of, complicated structures, in terms of organizational friction. So you, first of all, don't think of that as something that you're not starting off. I think you're starting off with a great advantage and you have much more flexibility to do things with AI. So AI is an opportunity to leapfrog. Second thing that I'll tell them is not to use technology for technology's sake. And that's the biggest mistake, right? I want to do something with Gen AI, or I want to be able to say, I did something with AI. These are all tools. And tools are always used to solve a problem. So first identify which are your biggest problems. What is going to give you either it is the biggest problem in your business right now, or it's going to give you the biggest lift in your business. And I think it will depend on the nature of the SME. The applications of AI today in a combination, I know we all talk about Gen AI, but I'll say that in a combination of Gen AI and traditional AI ML and deep learning and everything together. The applications are across the value chain of any enterprise. So if I were to pick something, I think one of the biggest things always is how well do I handle my customers? And I think in terms of removing the friction from the customer engagement cycle, AI can play a beautiful role. And I don't mean it so much as I will put a voice bot and it'll talk to my customers. In fact, I would put that the last, because that can, while AI can scale advantages, it can also scale mistakes. So I would put that as the last. But in understanding my customers' needs better, if a customer is reaching out to me, being able to anticipate why would they be reaching out and can I have a solution ready? Can I use AI and machine learning in that? That's one kind of an example. If I look at internal processes, today the opportunity using AI tools is that all kinds of knowledge that you've built in the organization over years is now available to you at fingertips. Because you can now tap into all the sources of dark knowledge in your organization, your emails, voice calls if you've recorded, PDF documents, etc. So you actually have access to signals that you never had in your business. So if you just take it into, I mean, while it is not for an SME, if I take it for one of the clients that we are working with, where we are helping them look at, can you replace your usual new product introduction process, which they used to do physically? They would actually take a product, create a small batch, take it into a few stores, test it out. And that takes 90 days, and they're in the fashion industry. By the way, in 90 days, the fashion may be over. So you're actually missing the train if you do it in the traditional way. Can you now do this using a lot of data? Can you listen in? Can you collect the data? Can you simulate and then cut the cycle down to 2 weeks so that if this is the right product to launch, you actually start earning from it rather than waiting for it? So I think the opportunities are galore, but it has to be starting from where is my biggest problem and how do I solve it backwards?
Thanks, Sandeep. I think your net message is that so many times we are starting with constraints. I try to solve a problem, but I start thinking what all constraints I have. I don't have data. Even if I have data, I don't have access to it in silos. So what will I do? So better let the business go as it's going. So what Sandeep is saying, instead of getting just too much zazzed up or complex or confused by these technologies and all the jargons which people like us keep on putting it, just think of your regular business problem which you want to solve, and then come to practitioners like Fractal, who will actually tell you and guide you what you already have in terms of your data, which is lying in your company itself, and then they will start building solutions for you for the problem which you are facing in your business. Thanks, Sandeep. So Manoj, coming to you, Manoj represents largest or one of the largest data center company in the world, Equinix, and they have data centers across the world. In India, they are hugely successful, supporting so many enterprises. So Manoj, my question to you that AI is required across the world. You might not be able to create center of excellence everywhere, but the benefits are required everywhere. And you will have to definitely take these compute centers, the data centers, in as many parts as possible. So how important it is to have data centers as close to the user as possible, whether you are talking in the geographical context of putting data center in different countries because sovereignty angle also comes in, or whether you are calling in the context of India, where sovereignty angle is not there if your data center is there in India, but you also need to possibly take data centers to, let's say, tier 2 cities or tier 3 cities, because a proximity and the latency angle also starts coming in for a very, very latency specific applications, right? So Manoj, what is your take on this?
Well, first, thanks for the question, and good evening, everyone. Well, let's first focus on what is the problem that we are trying to solve. And we are saying that AI is going to make life better for most of us. That should be the focus. That is it that AI service is available at a Jharkhand where a bunch of developers are using your platform to develop a agent which serves the community over there, or there is a school over there where the teachers are not available and we are using AI platforms where students can interact with the platform and then have a class as if a teacher is present over there, or a medical hospital does not have a doctor or a cable doctor and we are using AI to ensure that the patients get the right treatment. That is what is most important. Now, for that, all that we need is very high and good quality of internet. As long as we have good internet with good latency, the resources, whether it is data center or the compute, frankly speaking, can be anywhere. But it's very well known that A video conferencing where you're interacting with a AI agent is nothing but a video conference. You say something and the other person responds to you, can handle even a 200 milliseconds of delay. And 200 milliseconds of delay, actually, anywhere in the country you have, or even in Singapore also, you can serve this community over here. So we should not get hung up with where the resources are, as long as the services that we want to offer is being provided properly, efficiently over the resources that are available. Now, the advantage that we have today is that some of the resources which Sunil's company provides, the compute, is on a tap. You can take it from wherever it's available. You can take it from wherever it's cheaper. If something is cheaper in Dubai, if something is somewhere else, maybe a developer can use that resource to provide services here in India. So I believe that should be the focus. We should ensure that the internet is very good. We have companies like Equinix is enabling some of these AI inferencing at low latency. We ensure that multi-cloud platforms are enabled where data is, even if you want to have sovereign data, your data should be under your own control on your own device. We can place it adjacent to the cloud such that it is within 1 millisecond delay. And you get a feeling as if the data is inside the cloud, but actually it's not inside the cloud. And hence you meet all the regulatory requirement that data should be on your control, not on somebody else's control. So we have all these solutions provided by companies like Equinix, which will reduce latency, bring down cost of operation, and help to make AI services ubiquitous. And that's where I think there could be some services which are very latency intensive, that we have to find a solution. Problem is that data centers are not viable if the capacity is less than 20 megawatt. Yeah. So if you build some small data centers and they are very expensive, that increases the cost of operation, and that actually defeats the whole purpose. And the same thing is with your computes also. Yeah. If you build small computes, bringing them redundancy and all those things at all these multiple locations would be very difficult. So I think that's what my take is.
No, thanks Manoj, and thanks for clarifying on this matter, because so many times we keep on hearing about edge data center, but even the sheer economics of that does not work out. And the end purpose which we want to achieve of taking this technology to masses at the lowest possible cost, that purpose itself get defeated. So if you're able to cover the whole of India within 10 milliseconds of latency for almost majority of the applications, that is fantastic. Right now, by the way, we all are accessing AI while the AI is sitting in US. So if you can handle 250 milliseconds of latency, I'm sure you can handle that within India, even if the data center compute hubs are only in some of the locations as well. So Dr. Stubbe, coming to you, you are representing a huge tech company. You have been into corporate affairs and regulatory affairs for long. So let me ask you a question. See, India's experience of adopting technology and taking it to mass scale, we have a track record implementing the whole digital public infrastructure stack, implementing UPI, taking it to masses, putting all the right controls. And the way we have seen a UPI, after implementing in India, we have been able to take it to more than 40 countries. And in general, the way we are as a society, as a polity are like, okay, sabka saath, sabka vikas, Vasudev Kutumbakam, that everybody should be happy. Is India in the position to take this AI-led development in an inclusive framework where we are not only taking the benefits to the masses in India, but also, let's say, to global south and to a larger global community? What is your take on that?
थैंक यू सो मच एंड आपने सच कर दिखाया कि सब्र का फल वाकई मीठा होता है सो थैंक यू फॉर ऑल्सो सेविंग द बेस्ट फॉर द लास्ट आई वॉन्ट टू गो बैक टू समथिंग दैट यू स्टार्टेड विद सुनील जी इंडिया इज नॉट अ लैगार्ड व्हेन इट कम्स टू AI, and I want to show you something. This is what the phone looked like before we happened to the phone. It's an Android device. Each time you press the power button, it serves content, and this is served across 18 categories. It's about AI. It will tell you that a new toolkit for farmers in Meerut, in Chhatarpur, in Bahraich is being launched, and this gets served on 550 million mobile devices. We did it in India. We did it from India. We are making in India for the world. And that's real inclusion. The topic that we're discussing today, and you talked about UPI at scale. So in 2014, something magical happened. We decided to launch Digital India, and it wasn't just a mission mode statement. Ye jumla nahi tha. We decided to put the infrastructure together and connect 250,000 village panchayats, 600,000 villages under BharatNet. We also put together the giant trinity, जिसको हम जनधन, मोबाइल और आधार के नाम से जानते हैं. InMobi is India's first unicorn. We became a unicorn in 2011 when this was not a buzzword, it was not fashionable. We are also the first investment that SoftBank made in India. We work very closely with Microsoft and Bing. There are our partners. We work very closely with Google. The word that we need to take away today is collaboration and co-creation. We are competing with the world, but we're also today in a place where we're not aping from Western models. So the West will always solve for very evolved constructs around privacy, where for us as well, privacy by design is a given, it's a take, but we no longer see this as compliance burdens. So when India decided to solve for 1.4 billion people, we build products for use case, we build products at population scale. So InMobi became one of the world's largest independent ad tech companies. And what is it that we can do for businesses? That's where the lesson is. Everybody's adoption journey in AI is going to be very different. There's going to be no blanket one-size-fits-all solution. We went to UP and all elected MLAs sat for 2.5 hours. गवर्नमेंट में मंशा भी है, there's प्रगति, उसकी दिशा, दृष्टि, गंतव्य तीनों ठीक दिशा में तय हो रहे हैं. They're very keen on working with businesses, and that's where the India AI mission, because we are discussing this at the India AI Impact Summit, it's very open. For the first time at 280 rupees per hour, you're getting access to compute. The world is looking at that model because nobody's ever done that. They've already procured 3,800 GPUs. So what is it that makes AI special? What is it that makes this relevant? Because ASSOCHAM's hosting this, we represent SMEs, small businesses. You have very, very rich data, and using AI can tell you when it's the right time to change the nuts and bolts. The productivity cycles are changing. If you look at belts, which are very, very clear in Kashipur, the farming cycles are changing. They are now looking at AI tools, and they're not just using them, they're determining market prices. So what is InMobi doing? We're working with MasterCard. Our partners are the AI Garage, our partners are Tata Sons, and they've created an amazing thing called the MSME Toolkit, which they're giving away for free. We're doing workshops across the country, and the two things which are very important when we're trying to unlock trade between US, India, between any other country, under the US-India CEO Forum, under Piyush Goyalji's leadership, it is, do we do great record keeping? Are we financially able? Can we look at new tools which can be collaterals, which give you more access to credit? And second most important, do not look at privacy, do not look at cyber hygiene and cyber security as burdens. Adoption of AI is going to happen. It's no longer a choice, because if we don't do that, we're leaving 11,000 billion US dollars on the table. It's now larger than the combined GDP of India and China. It's no longer a choice. But how are you going to do it in manufacturing? How are you going to do it in education, remedial education? How is it that an enterprise solution will look at AI? Is now going to be a policy overlap. And the last thing that I want to leave you with is, companies are no longer competing with each other. Countries are competing with each other. So we have to make sure that we're behind this ambition of the India AI mission. We are going to work with the government. ASSOCHAM will make sure that sectoral committees work and unlock this for you, so that every single sector, whether it's healthcare, agriculture, ad tech, businesses, e-commerce, they're able to harness this amazing tool called AI. So jobs are not going to get lost, they will get transformed. From 70 million jobs being transformed to 110 million new jobs being created. So I'm very, very optimistic. Thank you once again for the opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Frubi. And fantastic. I think the claps are just saying everything. So, because now we just have 4 minutes left, so I will just request all the speakers to have their one thought on a specific topic, and I'll just request them to limit it to 1 minute each. So, Dr. Chris, starting with you. AI for all, the benefit of AI for all becomes real when you have stakeholders like students, you have stakeholders like businessmen, you have stakeholders like banks, you have stakeholders like farmers, agriculturalists, scientists, everybody, nobody is looking at it as a great technology. Wow, we have created something. Nobody is impressed with jargon. Everybody is trying to take some benefit out of that. So according to you, when will AI become real for the real masses?
For me, AI becomes real when it scales on trusted rails, that we bring about inclusivity through those design principles, security by design, consent as a feature, and interoperability.
Thank you. Yeah, same question. So maybe we can go Sandeep. Yeah.
So I think AI becomes real when the power that it has to really democratize the access to real intelligence is available to every person, regardless of level of education, regardless of the language they speak, regardless of their economic strata, regardless of their social strata. I think that's the power of AI, and once that is realized, I think it becomes real.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think the mantras are adoption, antodaya, do not leave anyone behind, and adoption at scale so that there's equity. Represent people who are not in the room today. Build your own table. Don't be on the menu, be at the table. Thank you.
I think diffusion and adoption. When AI is touching everybody's life and it's making a measurable, significant impact on how do they do things, how is it improving their life. So diffusion and impact will determine AI is real.
For me, AI for all really becomes meaningful if it starts consuming much lesser compute resources, much lesser power, much lesser water, and becomes sustainable, and also in some way becomes net job creative.
Thank you. And I think we are lucky to have, that's what I'm saying, coming to the big man. So we are lucky to have the chief of IBM and the chairman of the SOCHM AI task force, Mr. Sandeep Patel with us. So Sandeepji, why don't you give us a keynote address, sharing your thoughts on the subject?
Actually, I think we've just got a minute left, so I don't want to hold up. But I think I'll just make a few points. I think to your point about AI for all, I think there are three dimensions which we should really think about. Number one, I think for AI to be relevant for all, I've been talking about, actually most of the day today, I've been talking about this notion about how can we move from being AI consumers to becoming AI architects. AI architects in how we think about use cases, how we think about diffusion of AI to the masses as well as through to MSMEs. And to do that, what becomes really important is how do we make it more affordable. So it's not just about, compute power and others, but the relevance of small language models that are more fit for purpose, that can be democratized and put in the hands of developers to really drive innovation, which becomes a lot more open source in nature, I think becomes very, very relevant. And all of these, if all of these elements come together, I think where we can define use cases that make AI real, not just for large enterprises, but also for small enterprises and consumers, that is sort of where we have to bring this technology. Because right now I think there is a lot of talk, but if it doesn't scale at the right level, and to scale it, we will need skills, we will need the right cost components of it to make it affordable, and we will need to have it a lot more democratized, where innovation is being sustained across a larger platform of developers and researchers to make it real. So I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Sandeepji. Sorry, I didn't notice that you came late. So
No, that's okay.
So
The navigation here was quite.
I think we all are rushing. So that brings us to the end of this panel. I just hope that you all liked and you benefited from the views of all the panelists. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Can I request all the panelists for one more group photograph, please? Can I request Colonel Saurabh Sanyal ji, Secretary General SOCHM, to please join for the photograph?